"How do I know you'll keep your word?" asked Coraline. "I swear it," said the other mother. "I swear it on my own mother's grave." "Does she have a grave?" asked Coraline. "Oh yes," said the other mother. "I put her there myself. And when I found her trying to crawl out, I put her back." Neil Gaiman's Coraline, published in 2002, was short but not sweet. It managed to take a familiar concept, that of a curious child bored of their normal routine and stumbling into a fantasy world, and turned it into something truly chilling. When it was adapted to film by the small production company LAIKA, they went beyond simply putting pictures to words. They created a movie that checked all the boxes for a successful, colorful animated movie for kids, and yet at the same time, served as a solid and sinister horror film. But how? How did 2009's Coraline satisfy these two movie genres so well, and also be my personal favorite stop-motion movie? Where can we start but the animation? LAIKA Studios was trying to get a first feature film under their belt. They recently hired Henry Selick, director of a little film you may have heard of, The Nightmare Before Christmas, as a supervising director. They rebranded the company to LAIKA after the Soviet dog that was the first animal to circle the globe and perished during the journey. They got the rights to Coraline and set about making their stop-motion masterpiece. In Henry Selick's own words, quote, "Coraline was a huge risk, but these days in animation, the safest bet is to take a risk. Stop motion is to animation what picking up individual crumbs with tweezers is to sweeping the kitchen floor. It is an incredibly precise process where, aside from some slight CGI, all the movement in every frame has to be adjusted manually. And it's the natural imperfections of this process that give stop motion this disoriented look that's so engaging. By stop motion standards, Coraline is smooth as butter, but still retains that unmistakable, disjointed style. You have to appreciate not just the animation process itself, but all the hands involved. All those characters and sets had to be built. The clothing? Hand-stitched with tiny knitting needles. I mean, look at those! Stop motion works particularly well in live-action horror movies because it's so divorced from normal human movement. And it always comes into play in these short, scary bursts. Coraline is able to use this style to convey a wide array of emotions. Take an early scene where our main character is exploring outside. The colors are gray and drab, soothing how frustrated she is with her new home. Yet as she plays Water Witch, the wind starts to pick up. An unknown figure emerges from the shadows. Everything grows dark except for this figure, popping what can only be described as a creepy wheelie lit by lightning. Within seconds, we got from here to here. And while it was emotionally abrupt, it didn't feel random or unjustified. I love this scene because it shows how Coraline's animation is proficient enough to look, well, normal, and can switch on a dime to something menacing. Of course, once we meet the individual, the soft-spoken Wybie who really needs to see an orthopedist, the mood settles. But the message of the movie is clear. Don't get too comfy. We can and will pull the rug from under you in a second. Coraline's story is all about being lulled and then betrayed by fantasy. And you could put the movie on mute and still understand that. When it needs to be, the animation is gorgeous. The colors pop, the textures are lush, and the music perfectly matches the tone. When our protagonist steps into the other world, and her other father shows her around the garden, everything is engineered to be as vibrant and whimsical as possible. And at the end, it's an unmoving wasteland of death and decay. That praying mantis machine is terrifying. But hold on. If the story has to take all these pretty things and make them evil, how do we turn this horror video game looking boss into something sweet? Well, for one, Coraline herself isn't, for lack of a better word, a girly girl. She enjoys the mysterious, like the dowsing rod or the cavernous well. So if anyone would be thrilled rather than petrified by a motorized insect, it'd be her. And secondly, the entrance of the machine comes with the father himself and this absolutely killer bit of jazz. I will be fawning over the animation throughout this review, but we can't forget how everything in a great film works in tandem. Dialogue, characterization, music, and animation. My point is this. Every fantasy scene, the garden, the acrobatic performance, the house itself, is both beautiful and odd enough to appeal to a young child's imagination. And every follow-up scene, using the same elements, is rotten, ugly, desperate, and sick. That is the visual journey being told, and it's being told well. Another reason Coraline is able to cover the PG and horror bases so effectively is the voice acting. I've said it a million times, acting is underrated in the horror genre. Getting us to buy that a character is hurt or horrified brings us closer to them, makes us share it, puts us at the horror's mercy.
Good night, Dad.
I know people despise the film, but one of the reasons It Follows worked so well for me was that Maika Monroe seemed genuinely terrified. In Coraline, the actors have to perform split versions of themselves, and they hit all the right beats. Actor John Hodgman, who played the father, said he channeled swanky singer Dean Martin when playing the other father, and it's great contrast. Notice how every line from him never seems to rise or fall in pitch or volume.
Hello, Coraline. Want to hear my new song?
My father can't play piano.
No need to. This piano plays me.
It's slick and drawn out, like a late-night radio DJ.
Yeah, smooth jazz, 105.9.
The heavy lifting goes to Teri Hatcher as the mother. She's got serious range as a voice actor. It's 3 roles she has to play: the cranky, real mother, the sweet, nurturing other mother, and of course, the other mother in her true form. The vocal transformation from number 2 to number 3 is as creepy and effective as the animation itself.
I'll give you to the count of 3. 1, 2, 3! What are you doing?
We get the tension, the seduction, and the white-knuckle fear, and it all feels legitimate. Animated movies for kids have a history of surprisingly scary villains. Judge Frollo, the evil queen, that whale. Oh my god, that whale. That whale gave me nightmares for weeks. And they are fantastic as villains go, but something the other mother showcases in the final act, through voice alone, is something deeper and darker. This sequence where she cries for Coraline is brilliantly animated and edited, but Teri Hatcher brings a new level of intensity to the performance. I mean, just listen to it. Listen to the sorrow and rage. We're watching a bunch of dolls on a set, and yet when that door finally shut, I was sweating through my shirt. I want to mention how Coraline's horror atmosphere is so well crafted for both kids and adults. The film retained the simplicity of the story. This way, children could easily follow along from set piece to set piece without a lot of exposition or plot twists to muck things up. The sense of foreboding is established through music, set design, and choice of colors, rather than good old-fashioned bloodied walls that would ruin the PG rating. It's enough for kids to get the vibe, and yet there are wonderful hints everywhere for adults to catch. Various belongings of the dead children can be seen in the tunnel that connects the real and other world. The garden of Coraline, without the flowers in bloom, matches the face of the other mother. If you pay attention to the welcome song by the other father, it's not a welcome song at all. It's a warning.
Making up a song about Coraline. She's a peach, she's a doll, she's a pal of mine. She's as cute as a button in the eyes of everyone who ever laid their eyes on Coraline. When she comes around exploring Mom and I will never ever make it boring. Our eyes will be on Coraline.
And those button eyes, dear lord. Yes, credit goes to the book, but the way they're shown, especially in that first zoom, is enough to make you cringe. And not cringe like when a content thief who can't act tries to defend doxing. I mean the cringe when you swiftly feel uncomfortable and a little unsafe, and you like it. What is good horror but not that? There are plenty of movies that try to please everyone and end up sanding down all their edges to do so. Through its linear narrative, beautiful animation, and relatable protagonist, Coraline has all the ingredients for children, especially the ones who enjoy the spooky and strange. And yet the film's powerful performances, amount of detail, and sophisticated horror elements make it a great watch for adults as well, especially the ones who enjoy the spooky and strange. Many films I adore can entertain the whole family, but to do so in the horror genre is a feat I haven't seen repeated this well. LAIKA still hasn't topped their first feature in my opinion, so someone out there needs to write a short, disturbing book for them to adapt. Until then, Coraline is my favorite stop-motion film, and a damn good rental for Halloween. So what did you guys think of Coraline? Comment below. Be sure to check out my playlist on horror movies that are actually scary, as well as some other videos coming soon. Subscribe, click the bell, all the support is great, and thanks for watching.